Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Human Loop podcast. On this episode, I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Ruth Oates. Ruth is a senior leader in the project management consultancy Bureau 4. They are an incredible organisation that is working to create better projects within the construction industry. Ruth and I talked all things human in the loop, as expected, the advent of AI within the construction sector and specifically within project management. We talk about robot dogs on site, which was epic to talk about. And then we get into the nuts and bolts on actually how they as an organisation are implementing AI tools, specifically Copilot, in their way of working throughout how they operate as an organisation. I particularly enjoyed when Ruth was talking about how we should view our AI co-pilots and agents as members of the team and use them in the right way. So make sure you listen to the whole of this podcast. Ruth shares some incredible optimistic predictions for AI within the construction industry at the very end. The Human Loop podcast, powered by Ethereum. It's 2026, beginning of the year. What advice would you have for other business leaders to make the most and make the most of this year and start really well?
I would also always say, really, it's January. You've had a nice break over the Christmas period. Before you launch into a really busy year, take a moment, sit with your team, think about your strategy for the year. Don't just launch into another busy year doing the same as what you did last year. Really have a think about it. Reflect on last year. What went well, what didn't go so well, and what do we need to change and tweak going forwards. Take January as that opportunity. Really reflect, build your strategy, and then go from there.
Thank you. It's really tempting to just go, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel from a business perspective, it's like, right, well, like this pent up kind of let's do great work for our customers type energy. But I think that advice is really sound advice. And at Bureau 4, like how are you doing that within the team?
Well, we have a board meeting set up, management board meeting. We'll sit there next Thursday, and we'll have take some time to do that process of, what's working, what isn't working, and set out the plan for this year. It forms part of a longer business plan, but there's the immediate next year of operation and how do we run it. So that's when we'll build it in with the team.
Brilliant. So you've got some finite time planned in to really go through this together. And I think that collaboration element, it's great to do it ourselves as leaders. And I think that's important, like the individual self-reflection bit, but then coming together as a group of leaders, just make sure you're all on the same page as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. And you have to book it in. You have to be deliberate about it. It doesn't happen by accident. We're all busy people. So you just have to commit that time and just say, that's what we're going to do, and just make it happen. Yeah, agreed. So thank you for coming on the show. It's really, really interesting because as part of the pre-work for this, we were talking about AI in your industry, and I'd like you to talk a bit more about the industry you're in to share with our audience. You hosted a round table earlier last year. Yes.
So talk to us all a bit about like the industry you're in and where. What were some of the key points that came out of that AI roundtable?
Yeah, so I work in the construction industry, and for us, we're laggards in adopting anything. We've been using the same materials for thousands of years, and it barely changes. So for us in construction, we're trying to work out how we can use AI. There's a lot of talk about using it on construction sites. There is already like robot dogs that can walk around site and look at health and safety issues and report on construction progress, and compare that back to virtual 3D models. So there's lots of exciting stuff that's going on in construction. For us as project managers, we don't apply that technology on a day-by-day basis. It happens on our with our clients and with our construction teams. But for us as consultants, it's more about how can we work more efficiently. So that's kind of where we're going to be applying AI within our organisation. But the purpose of the round table was to gather together a number of professionals that we work with across our broader teams, and to get all of their insights into how they're making use of AI and what they see coming, and the barriers and the challenges, and then the positives and the really great things it can do for us. So we got a selection of people around the table, some of our clients, some of the designers we work with. The lawyer's perspective was very interesting. And so we were focusing on the sort of design stages in construction, and then we'll do another one next, which is looking at the construction stage. So in terms of the themes that came out, one thing we looked at quite a lot is that we should really treat AI or AI assistant as a new member of the team. They shouldn't. You shouldn't just kind of go, oh, we've got this all singing, all dancing tool. It can do amazing things. We're not quite sure exactly what it can do yet, but let's just like bring it into the team. Just tell everybody that they have to use it. And so we kind of reflected that actually it would be so much better if we were more strategic about it. If we said, what can't the team do at the moment, or what can the team do better? What is taking our time and could be automated? And be very deliberate about setting some scope and some responsibility that you could give to an AI member of the team. So we talked a bit about that, because in the hype and the rush to really capitalize on AI, that everybody's clamoring for it. But maybe we don't know what we're trying to get from it. Where are we trying to get, and where are we going with it, and what is the ultimate goal? So I think there was a bit of a call for, let's just stop for a moment, really think about what are we trying to do with this, and what will it mean for us and our business, and how can we improve, and where are we trying to go with it, and then put in place something that's AI related that will resolve that problem, rather than just the blanket, everyone needs to do AI, nobody really knows what it is, and what it will do. So there was a lot of reflection on that, I would say, as a whole. But then, with that, with some people who are clamoring for it, there is also, by contrast, a lot of people are quite fearful of it, don't understand it, don't want to go there. There's a lot of resistance. But, within our business, there are still people who are a little bit like, oh, I don't know, oh no, I'm not sure about this. And so we explored that a bit as well as a theme. What are the barriers to its adoption? And I think it's a bit like when any new technology comes in, you've got that sort of curve, haven't you, of the adoption, starting with the trailblazers and the early adopters, and then we're not quite at the critical mass, I don't think, yet, the momentum that we need for people to be comfortable and adopt it.
Yeah, I think you shared some really interesting insights there, and I think I still can't get the concept of a robot dog walking around a site out of my head. I think
it's amazing.
It's amazing, and the use case is clearly there, isn't it? Because you don't need someone on site the whole time observing that specific, and then being able to reflect that back to the 3D model and looking at health and safety issues. You can see a clear use case on site. Yeah. But also, just coming back to the fear, like that was part of the tasks and responsibility of a human being, like at some point. Yeah. But actually, that could free that human being up to do something that is higher value on the site, or that a human would miss through fatigue or whatever. So, on the site side, you can really clearly go, well, kind of robotics and AI. That there's a really significant use case there. Yeah. And then when you look at the project management side, and I guess the more professional services side of construction, the tinkering that happens is, we could just use AI for that, rather than, as you said, thinking about specific use cases where there's repetitive work or where there's mass complexity. that can be simplified. And I think the bit that resonated with me that you shared as well was about treating it as a new member of the team. Like, actually, you might have created this agentic tool that does a piece of work or a piece of your process, but understanding that it's a member of the team rather than just something that does something probably helps in terms of thinking about resourcing time as well.
Yeah, I agree, Ben, and I think I mean, certainly as a consultant within Bureau 4, what we've tried to do, we've done something as simple as just try to adopt Copilot, which is obviously one of the many assistants that are out there, and just trying to get people to change their mindset that, you know, it is there to be your virtual assistant. It's not doing stuff for you. You still need to own the output, but it can take some of the donkey work away from you, the repetitive tasks, the things that just involve trawling through documents. So that's the kind of thing we're finding at the moment as consultants. It can just relieve some of that time, and so I think what we've got to do, and we're still getting our heads around it, is how do you learn to work with that virtual assistant? It's like you've got this new hybrid model of, you know, the human intelligence sitting alongside the artificial intelligence, and you've got to learn to work together and find out what work effectively together. And I guess it's like any new relationship you build at work, you've got to find out where your strengths lie. You might want to define boundaries and responsibilities and accountability, and sort of develop that relationship. And that's why I sort of see it as a new member of the team, really, because you've kind of got to get to grips with all of that to work effectively. And everybody has that opportunity now at all grades, you know, from our new graduates through to our managing director, you know, has that ability to build that relationship with a new exec assistant stuck to them like glue, as a new member of the team.
Yeah, and I think so. Trust is huge, isn't it? Because when it is a working relationship. Like the bit you said about, you know, you've got this interface between human and artificial intelligence, which effectively is able to do a lot of data analysis and qualitative and quantitative analysis much quicker than we can as humans. So you've got knowledge and capacity there, but the humans have got the relationship, the context, and the wisdom in terms of experience. And so we've got this meeting, and I think I really like the way you're talking about getting to know how to use that in the process of your new processes. Like, what parts of tasks are Copilot first? So we go to Copilot to originate the task, etc. And then we do the critical thinking, or actually do we do the critical thinking and then we check and challenge it with Copilot? And I think that's a really interesting thing I'm seeing in our businesses, but also with people I'm talking to and businesses that we're supporting, is really beginning to almost create those checklists of what is optimal for you in your role. No, that's great. I like the idea of defining that a little bit more. And I think we tried to launch Copilot last year. We did launch it. It's had mixed success, and I think reflecting on it, you know, this beginning of the year, reflecting on last year, what went well, what didn't go so well. We did the launch, we did the training, we did workshops, and yet still I feel it sort of fell a bit flat. And I reflect now that we should have been more hands-on and with more guidance for those who hadn't really used any of the LLMs before. So, you know, your point about having a checklist is great. I mean, we've developed a series, like a prompt library, and we need to embellish on that and grow that and really, I suppose, guide people at a very practical level, step by step, for how they can use it, and they sort of really sell the benefits, because I think some people completely get it because they've been doing it already, and some people just don't quite get it yet. And we need to do a lot more hand-holding to really help sell the benefits and bring them on board. Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that we think about, like, it's very easy as business people to write new tool. There you go. We've done the training. We've done the workshops.
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of that comes from the stakeholders and cheerleaders who have seen value straight away.
Yeah.
Because, like, I would hypothesize, it's probably similar in Bureau 4. Someone used Copilot to kind of pilot it. Pilot words thrown everywhere now. Copilot it, pilot it, give it a go, experiment with it, and saw some value and went, wow, I've had a great first experience.
Yeah.
And that's probably been, multiplied across a couple of people, a couple of instances, gone, right, this is a worthwhile investment. And I'm going to do a rugby analogy now. Forgive me.
Good.
My 9-year-old is in his second year of contact rugby at club level. We lost between going from tag rugby, where they wear a little belt and they pull Velcro tags off, to then going into full contact, where they're tackling another human being to the ground. We lost, I would say, 25% of the players who didn't want to transition from tag to full contact.
Win.
And my experience that as a dad and a coach was, I reflected on that coming back to the time when I worked for England Rugby, and there was a big study done on how do we get people to transition from tag rugby into contact rugby. And there was a massive amount of research done at the school level and interviews, etc. And the one single reason that people would make that transition and then would go on to play rugby for the rest of their kind of childhood up to 18 would be that first experience at being tackled or making a tackle was a positive outcome.
Wow.
And I see that time and time again in leadership roles, in management, and now with leading AI, because that's what we're doing. Yeah. I think if we can create those environments for people to have a good first experience and see value, then I think their curiosity is sparked.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's a really, really helpful tip, and I think what we try to do that in some of our examples, but I think what we need to do now is get those really hands-on workshops so that people can do it for themselves and have a really good first experience, and then build on that. Yeah.
And I think once we have that good first experience and people are beginning to create their own workflows and personalize it, we all get that time freed up to do higher value or different work that stretches us. So I'm interested, like for you personally, what insights or what moments have you seen or seen in colleagues where you've been able to utilize Copilot, for example, and it's freed you up to do higher value, different sorts of work?
So I think for us, and what we're finding is we receive lots of different documents as project managers from architects and clients and contractors and planning consultants and all of that, and for us sometimes there's an awful lot of skim reading that needs to be done to get the gist of something, just to sort of understand broadly what's going on, because as a project manager you often just have quite a lot to have. You need to have everything in mind, but not necessarily at a real in-depth level of knowledge, and so you just need to keep an eye on everything. So for us, I find it really, really handy. You can plug in a document that's come in from a designer, and it might be 100 pages long, and you can sort of say, can you give me a summary of this document, and what are the key next steps, or what are the risks, or whatever it might be, and it just helps you very quickly get to grips with that particular subject matter. That also helps me if you get to some really, really complicated niche specialist construction typology or something like that. It really, really helps you quickly get us an overview of that sort of subject area. So I would, for us, it's kind of like reading and summarising documents, getting to grips with new ideas quite quickly is where it helps. And if you've got to compare lots of documents, that's really helpful. All kinds of other things, I'm sure, but ultimately what I really want to encourage all of our teams to do is to use Copilot to help it write reports and do these summaries for us, so that we have more time as leaders, because ultimately our clients are employing us to lead teams, and if we're buried in the administration of projects, we're not there building relationships, leading teams, and inspiring people to give their best at work every day. And that's ultimately what our clients want us to be doing. So that is where I see the big driver for us as a project managing organisation, is that I want to be able to free up our project managers' time to do more of that leadership role.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, that actually we're coming back to, I say coming back because I think it's been there previously, coming back to a desire to add more value to our customers and our partners by spending more time with them.
Yeah.
Really wrestling with the human to human decisions, collaborative conversations about where a project might go or a piece of work might go.
Yeah.
And it feels like there was a period before and now where the world became more complex, complex legislation became more complex. And so you've got these 100+ page documents around design or legal matters that, as you said, you need to kind of get a grasp of, but keep it there. And I think that occupies some RAM, doesn't it, in our heads? It occupies some kind of short-term memory that actually can potentially be a limiting factor, stress level wise, to be able to give your best in those moments where your client or customer is saying to you, you know, like, Ruth, like, what do you think is the best solution to this challenge? So it's such a good use case, I think, to be able to give you what you need quickly, so you can have more time really investing in those relationships and helping solve those human to human challenges on sites or schemes, etc. It leaves me with a question at the other end of the organization. So your vast experience, senior within the organization, where do you see a risk in the earlier career level, people coming into your profession, that actually they may not develop the, I guess, the experiential wisdom you've got from having to go through those struggles of learning that stuff? Is that a risk, or is it something that I'm conjuring?
No, I don't think you're conjuring, Ben. It's something that's on my mind, and actually, sorry, I should have brought it up earlier. It came up in the round table as a discussion, particularly in the legal profession. What's really interesting now is, I refer to us doing reading and background reading and summarising, but a lot of work in the legal world is around reading all the case studies and finding the pertinent points and bringing them out. And a lot of that can be automated now. So the lawyer who was at our roundtable talked about this, and you've got that challenge now of that would be the foundations on which a legal career would be built, with all that reading around. And we have a similar thing now in that as a graduate, I had loads of time effectively to read around my subject area whilst learning in a safe space. I was an engineer as my background, and so I'd read up, I'd learn, I'd practice my calculations, I'd make errors and mistakes and get guided, and all of that, and there was much more time and space for that. And my worry is now that everyone's expected to work so efficiently in the advent of AI and assistance that there isn't going to be that same time and space for people at the beginning of their career to kind of evolve and make those mistakes in a safe space, and they're expected to suddenly be on a treadmill 100 miles an hour performing. And so I do have that concern, and so this is where I think you still need to safeguard that really important formative time for people at the beginning of their careers. I think this is where we've got artificial intelligence, but we still need people's actual, true, personal, human intelligence as well.
Yeah.
That does need to be developed, and that needs to be safeguarded, and you need proper technical training and technical training both around knowledge and skills, but then also leadership and emotional intelligence as well. And so I'm simultaneously very, very excited for what artificial intelligence can do, but I still do have those concerns around how it could affect the next generation of people coming through. But I guess part of it is we all evolve and we learn how to work in that new hybrid world hand in hand with AI. But I think we do need to fiercely defend that need for the time and space for proper training and development of human intelligence as well.
Yeah, it's a talent and succession and future success of your business question, I think. And when you were talking there, I was kind of ticking off the cues. So like IQ, like we need to develop like almost like we've got AI, we need to develop like human I, like HQ, and then situational quotient like SQ and EQ, and all of those kind of those human intelligence bits need to be nurtured and developed. And I think that will always be enough reps in the right environment with the opportunity to fail at the right thresholds with enough feedback over time.
Yeah.
And I think AI probably in that formative bit has an opportunity to provide in the moment feedback. Yeah. Where typically, unless you were sat close to your manager or were shadowing your manager, you wouldn't necessarily get that feedback, and it would really be dependent on the quality of your manager's observations against their mental model and their ability to coach. So I think there's an opportunity there.
Yeah.
But I think the point you make is really, really relevant, that we need to have a successful organization for more than a couple of quarters. Our early careers part of our organization, we're going to have to, I guess, have a ratio of what they are using AI for versus struggling.
Yeah.
And that's almost counterintuitive from a short-term profitability perspective, because you're right, it could be like, well, let's just get everyone going faster and churn out better margins, because we can do stuff faster, we can add more customer value, therefore we'll win more work and have deeper relationships. But there needs to be, I think, almost like a transition model potentially.
I think so. I think we need some proper long-term thinking here. What is going to be the long-term impact of what we're all rushing into now? And you're right to pick up on the people in their early career, and there has to be that balance, doesn't there, of somebody sitting there trying to solve it by just like ploughing away, trying to do searches and work out how to do something, versus just stopping, asking their team leader, how do I do this? I'm stuck. Protecting them and making it a safe space that you can do that still. It doesn't mean you can't do that. It's absolutely the right thing to do. If whatever 10-15 minutes of trying to search and solve it yourself isn't working, do go and ask someone. We're still humans. We're still teams. We still need to rely on each other and support each other. And line managers still have the responsibility for that person's training and development. So it's this hybrid thing, isn't it? It's kind of like, where do you draw the line, as you said before, you then flip it and go and speak to a person. So it's
yeah, and potentially, with the more experienced, more senior end of careers, who are typically your managers, your leaders, some of that time that's won back. Actually, there's such a great use case of investing that time into that generation. Yes, more customer value, etc., deeper relationships, but also, I think we're going to need to as well. If you look at, like, for example, Gen Alpha coming behind Gen Z. Yeah. They are fully AI native. I think that actually, in terms of searches that are done now via LLMs like OpenAI, Claude, etc., versus Google, Gen Alpha are the most AI native dominant search. Like they probably don't even use Google, to be honest. It's like just go to chat. And so actually there's a bit, I think, that's coming in the workforce, which is normally onboarding. I think has been like this is what we do here, and how we do it here. I think there's a bit coming to early stage careers that's going to be, this is how we do business, and how we develop those human skills, because with the best will in the world, we have generations coming through that are AI native, screen led, shorter attention spans, etc., simply because of the advancements that we all experience at a more senior end of business as freeing.
Yeah. Yes, really interesting reflections. I agree. I think we are in this sort of world of transition, aren't we? Where we have to really adopt our businesses to reflect the fact that we've got this whole new generation coming in that, you know, work differently, think differently, as you say, have different attention spans. There's a lot to think about as a business, and I feel like we're only just sort of starting and beginning to realise some of that. But yes, I think this is giving us a new way of working, and we're just starting on the journey as to how we can best make it work for us. Yeah.
And so, like, thank you so much for sharing, you know, what's going on internally within Bureau4 and how you're looking at that interaction between leaders, like leadership, like leading AI as another team member, as well as how we support people within our organisation. What are you seeing in kind of, I guess, your area of project management and the customers you're working with? Where are you seeing AI? Where if you were to like cast your globe into the future, like where do you see AI really disrupting your industry?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think where I'm seeing the starts of it going is making better use of the data that consultants have. So we work with a lot of quantity surveyors, cost consultants, you know, the people who assess the costs of building buildings, and they're already making really good use of their data to help predict prices of buildings that are being designed. And as project managers, where I want to get to is that we can harness the data we have in-house around project programs and how long it takes for certain tasks to happen, and ultimately build up programs that have more certainty in them for our clients. So that's one area, particularly in project management, I think is very important. And then also around, we work with clients to hire other consultants and build teams. And so we have data around how much that costs. And again, if we harness that better, we can advise our clients, you know, more readily. So that there's that. And then in construction generally, there's lots of advancements in fabrication, you know, modular buildings, sort of where things are built in factories and built to site ready made, brought to site ready made, which makes things much more predictable and efficient, almost like creating a factory environment on sites. And we're seeing more of that happening. Even the printing of 3D buildings, you're seeing some of this happening now, which is just crazy. And then we talked about the robot dogs, you know, but bit by bit, you know, automation can happen on site to take away some of the risks. You know, health and safety, construction is still one of the biggest industries for deaths, you know, and it's real. And so automation is a really important part of making the construction industry a safe place to work in. And so, you know, the health and safety aspects of automation or spotting risks before they become, you know, before they take effect, it is a really important part of what the industry is trying to do. So there's a lot going on there. And you can sort of see bit by bit, there'll be less of people you know, standing with their boots on, digging holes with shovels. You know, there'll still be some need for that somewhere, I'm sure, but it'll be more automated and better predicted and a safer place to work ultimately.
Yeah, and that kind of like the safer and more predictable bit is paramount, isn't it? Because actually, if we can reduce harm to humans and make construction programs more predictable, then actually that certainty is really helpful in terms of budgeting and future development, etc. But and that could sound like, we're making, like, the industry is getting like safer and more predictable. That's not very dynamic, but actually it sounds like from that project management modeling, you could be a lot more dynamic in terms of, well, if we did this or there's this impact. The advice you can provide to your customers and your clients is is going to be much more proactive and reactive, because you could dynamically model what a change would do based on past experience of similar construction, etc., which is really exciting.
It is really exciting, and particularly in construction, because if you make changes and you do all that optimization early in the project, the cost impact and the time impact of that change is much less. And as soon as you get later down the line, particularly if you've already started on a construction site and you make a change, then the cost impact is huge. It's like tenfold what it would have been if you made that decision earlier on. So that optimization piece in the early stages of the project, and really looking at all the different options and their impacts with a bit more certainty, would really help our clients. And so I really feel that there's good space to grow into there, for all of the consultants on our teams to really help their clients. You can build 3D models of buildings, quite quickly now, with the costing advice and program advice, and then you can look at lots of different options before you get too far down the line. So I agree, Ben. I think it's a really exciting time actually for the construction industry if we can learn to harness, what's happening here with AI for our particular consultant services. As a collective, we can really make a difference and change the face of construction, which is still like, oh, it's over time and it's over budget. There's still that reputation there, which unfortunately is true in a lot of cases. So I think it can really sort of change the face of construction if we do it right.
Ruth, thank you. I think that's a really nice and important moment to end on. That actually, there's fiscal benefit, there's performance benefit, and well-being benefit to kind of the evolution that the AI is bringing to work in general, but it's easy for me to say, specifically in your industry. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
And you, thank you, Ben. Thanks for inviting me.